You mean her?
We'll end this hearing and start another one.
Well, we're late.
Yeah.
We got late on these guys. What made you think that was gonna take 10 minutes, young lady? Sorry, just thought I'd ask.
I'm trying.
I know, you're very trying, I know that.
We apologize for taking the extra time.
Yeah, thanks for staying with us.
We'll ask Kim to call a roll.
Commissioner Lambert.
Here.
Commissioner Attell.
Present.
Commissioner Sukla.
Here.
Administrator Bruner.
Here.
Attorney Baxter.
Here.
And Kim Purcell, Montezuma County Clerk and Recorder. The Montezuma County Board of County Commissioners will hold a public hearing for review and determination regarding proposed amendments to High Impact Permit Number 101 submitted by Basin Co-op Incorporated, Agent Lynn Forsberg and Bentley Colbert for the purpose of expanding the existing use to include a fertilizer storage and mixing facility and future general storage store on property located at 11722 Highway 491, Cortez, Colorado, consisting of 5 acres more or less, located north of Road L.5, east of Highway 491, situated in Section 15, Township 36 North, Range 16 West, 10 p.m. The hearing will be held Monday, November 5th, 2018 at 1:50 p.m. in the Commissioners' Hearing Room, Montezuma County Administrative Offices, 109 West Main, Cortez, Colorado. Interested persons may attend and give input. Information may be obtained from the Planning Office, Room 270, Administrative Offices, Cortez, Colorado, or accessed online at http://montezumacounty.org, Web Departments Planning. You may also contact the Planning Department at 970-565-2801 with questions. This file can be inspected in the Planning Department during regular office hours, dated this 23rd day of September 2018. Kim Purcell, Clerk, Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, Colorado. Published in the Journal on Friday, October 26, 2018. Sorry I say that so fast.
Thank you, Kim. Go ahead, Leanne. Give us a-
Okay, so if you don't recall, they amended their permit last year to include, let me get my stick. The 2 propane tanks up here. So now they are revisiting their site plan and their high impact permit to include a future storefront storage area here, as well as a fertilizer and storage mixing facility here. They have since then, I know you can't see this black line, it's kind of dark, but so these are no longer 2 properties, they're 1. So there'll only be 1 access off of the CDOT highway, which has helped with this expansion, because they're not gonna need 1 for each property. They'll just use this one. I did get notification from CDOT that their application is okay. The only thing that's up for, the only agency comment that we had was from CDOT, minus a couple of public comments, but was regarding this future storage area. If they decide to do this later, not just, this is approved by CDOT, and so is the containers and the existing facility here. But if they decide to do this later, they're gonna have to come back and go through CDOT and go through another amendment of their access permit. Because the storefront's gonna bring in a lot more traffic than just a simple storage and mixing facility. There were a couple neighbor comments that we had at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting that were addressed. Mr. Wilkin, Danny Wilkin, is located on the north side of this property, and he had some concerns about how close the facility was going to be to his property. But you know, as you can see, it's hundred and twenty,
yeah.
from the northern line, which meets that 50-foot setback. And then they extended that even further so that Mr. Wilkin would have, more space between the building and his property. He was also, concerned about the type of building that was going to be constructed. There was concerns about prairie dogs and what they were gonna do to help him with prairie dogs. Their operation times, when their minimal activities or their extreme activities, when they would be doing that. He had traffic concerns if it started being a storefront, and then also people coming to pick up fertilizer. We also had a neighbor that was concerned about the fertilizer and the chemicals possibly being
Explosive.
explosive and a danger to the neighborhood.
Good.
And they're not, we don't handle that, so.
So we dealt with that. There was also some concerns regarding fencing, and I think they compared, there was a lot of comparison to this facility being similar to the Empire Electric expansion, which is, I think people are concerned that it's gonna turn their neighborhood into a commercial zone area, which I can say that area is already designated.
I was gonna say,
As a commercial industrial overlay, in our
Right.
commercial industrial overlay area.
and it's in an enterprise zone as well, isn't it not?
That's
Yeah.
correct, yes.
Okay.
So those things were talked about. There was also some concerns about the existing propane tanks, which I believe Lynn can talk to you about shortly. But it was on October 11th, requested by the Planning Commission to approve it, including permit language regarding the fertilizer storage mixing facility not being a danger to the community.
In what regard, the explosive nature or,
Yes.
yeah, and
I think they just, it was general
Yeah.
language of just being, dangerous. The basically, it was relayed to us that those things would be stored in completely separate areas, and what they actually have could not be used for that purpose anyway.
Right, everybody still remembers the Oklahoma City
ammonium
bombing, and,
nitrate.
I don't know that any agricultural fertilizer company handles that type of fertilizer anymore, so,
Yeah.
and haven't for many, many years. So, and then the propane tanks, yeah, he was very concerned about those. And I guess the planning commission even talked, how many propane tanks are in the area already, and they've never been an issue. And I guess my comment to him was, those tanks are much safer than a transport going down the road, if you want to do a comparison. I mean, so we don't see it as an issue, but, he did, and some of his facts were good and some were outdated, I guess.
Mhm.
And those tanks are inspected monthly, correct?
Yeah, we inspect them every month. We have a protocol we gotta go through, and they're also inspected by the state. They're inspected by our insurance company, our safety and compliance company that we hire. So yeah, they get a lot of inspections, as do all our facilities, actually.
Mhm.
And so again, I don't think it's any secret. You guys, some of you are very well aware of our plant up at Pleasant View and the condition it's in. And I believe last year when Bentley and I was here, we even told you this was in hopefully our immediate future. So basically that's where we're at. The plant up there will be, as far as fertilizer, will be, dismantled.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then, do you wanna just give them a brief overview of the fuel?
Sometime down the road, but that would require a lot of state approval too from oil and gas, but, you know, someday, you know, we may want to move that other facility down there and, you know, have gas and diesel. But no immediate plans for that. I don't anticipate coming back to you next year for that. But sometime in the future, that probably will be an issue, especially the location up there. Again, I know it's no secret, CDOT's not real thrilled about any kind of grandfathered in approach like we have there. So at this point, they've given us minimal issues on it, but someday that could change.
Would that
But
be,
that would
that would
also-
be bulk fuel, right? That wouldn't be a get, would that be
Well,
a service station
Either or both, yeah.
or both?
Yeah. Again, that's boardroom talk right now, that
Yeah.
there's no plan in place.
Gotcha.
So,
I think they're just trying to make sure that they're being transparent to you and not
Yeah.
piecemealing
yeah.
things, and what could potentially happen. Of course, that would require an amendment, an additional amendment of the permit, and then going through CDOT as well. So I mean, but it's on the table in the event that it might happen in the future. I think they're being very responsible in their long-range planning. It's nice to know what's coming down the pipe.
Yeah, right now, and again, you guys are all familiar with fertilizer plant like ours. I mean, there's times of the year that there might be 25 or 30 trips possibly a day in and out. But there's gonna be 6 months where there's no trips
Nothing.
in and out.
No,
So. And the only thing that might happen at night as far as noise would be, you know, if a transport came in at night to unload, which happens very rarely and really doesn't create that much commotion anyway.
What was your building gonna be like? Is it gonna be, just like a metal building?
It'll
with
be
cement?
concrete, base and stem walls inside and out will all be concrete. And, I think 6-foot stem wall and then wood frame above that. It will be sided with, a vinyl siding, which is much better for a fertilizer plant than metal siding.
Oh,
For the rust.
gross.
If you put metal siding up, it rusts and gets dented. If you put up vinyl siding, it might get broke if something hits it, but it's easier to replace that and will outlast the metal siding several years over. So, and the shingled roof. So we shouldn't have any glare or any issues there. Security lighting will all be, you know, the down, and I'll visit with the neighbor about that. Make sure that whatever we do meets with his agreement there. And again, you know, that's one reason we moved it for so far off our property line. You know, we're wasting part of our ground there, but that was, you know, so that we would give him a little more cushion between the operation and his property line. So that's the only reason we moved in another 50-some foot, was just trying to be as good a neighbor as we can and still operate our business.
And then, would you mind addressing the propane leak issue, like if it leaks?
Oh, yeah, you know, and it is true, if you have a propane leak, the propane will come down, and, you know, follow along the ground. But the other side of that is, if there's any distance, you know, it's gonna disperse anyway. So he had a concern with, the propane tanks there, you know, and if they leaked, that it was gonna blow up the community, basically. That's, as I said that night, you can never say never, but the possibility of that, there's a lot more danger from a residential tank springing a leak, you know, as far as causing, you know, property damage than there is from those tanks. They just, I mean, how often do you ever hear of any issues with a bulk plant is kind of what I'm getting at, I guess. It just very rarely happens. But again, I can't say 100%, it couldn't
No,
possibly.
no,
You know.
never say never.
But as I say, there's no guarantee of anything. But you know, the new propane plants have so much safety on them, the valves. If a semi would run into one of those tanks and break the valves off, you'd have almost no leakage because there's internal valves that snap shut. I mean, you know, I think those two tanks, I'm not sure, but I think it was close to $45,000 worth of plumbing, as safety plumbing that goes on a tank. It's ridiculous, but they are very well constructed, very safe. And we've had no issues.
And the propane tank in Durango's been there for years,
Yeah.
in the middle of Durango.
I mean, we probably, have one of the most modern propane plants in the county here, so.
Are you delivering retail from there now, or?
Yes, we've always come over here. We've just delivered out of our plant in Durango. The biggest purpose of that plant for us was to have extra storage. We can't put any more storage where we are in Durango because we can't meet the state requirements. So we put those tanks there. Incidentally, those tanks are both on skids. I poured a cement pad, so they're sitting on. But if something would happen one day that the company wanted to move them, basically unhook the electric line and pull them onto a truck and away you go. So, which was done intentionally just in case we would ever want to, relocate them or whatever, or maybe take one of them and put it somewhere else. But the increased storage was our main thing. We have a very limited propane supply in the winter in this area. Right now, well, that doubled our storage. We have like 56,000 gallon in Durango, and there's 60,000 there. We can go from full to empty in a day and a half if all the trucks are running. So that's a vital part if we, didn't need it last winter, but hopefully this year we will.
Right. Well, I
James,
remember,
one of the things over there in Durango too is we're landlocked and we don't have enough land to do anything, as far as any expansion in that. And dealing with that county and city over there is a little different situation at times too.
So you're
And
saying I'm awesome.
I didn't quite say that. No, I'm just kidding.
He's gonna get around to it a little later on, yeah.
But, we were in a position out there at Pleasant View that we had to, we had to rebuild that facility there or move it. And the logistics of this, it just makes a lot more sense for us, it really does. And then it combined that piece of property, which
Yes.
we needed to do,
Yes.
especially for access and all that. So it makes a lot of business sense for us if it worked for everybody else. And we have visited with Danny and, he's, I think everything that he's addressed and the concerns, I think I don't think we can make sure things work out there. I don't think there's a problem with that. We talked about the prairie dogs and we were already talking about fencing and stuff around there. And I think hopefully we can take care of all that with him that we need to, and I don't think that should be a problem.
On a side note, do you think we ought to put them in on the hazard mitigation plan for winter
Hazardous materials.
snowstorm and providing propane?
Yeah.
Providing.
We're gonna list you guys, yeah.
He's like, what? Not
Yeah, where'd that
provide,
come from?
having it available.
Yeah.
They'll pay for it.
We haven't. We haven't.
That was a big discussion. One of our possible hazards in Montezuma County is this major winter storm. So we want to make sure we know your numbers.
I got
Okay.
beamed up.
you may not have to dismantle that plant out at Pleasant View, it may do it itself.
Yeah.
Well, the hut part of it is bad. The other part is actually
Too
make
big,
somebody a
buddy.
good machine shed if they want to just put a new, tear down that part at the end, on. So it's for sale if there's anybody living
Anybody
close by that wants it. Or will be for sale.
So what I'm proposing is, like what we have been doing, with the previous high impact permit applications, is issuing them, a notice to proceed, so they can move forward with their construction, their building, not have to worry about any of that, and then once their construction is complete, we'll come back and issue the final high impact permit for that portion of what's being proposed, as far as the fertilizer storage and mixing.
Okay. We'll open it up for public comment then. If anybody has public comment on this, if you come up to the podium, state your name and address.
Danny Wilkin, 11728 Highway 491. I joined this property on the north and on the east. And honestly, I don't have any problems with Basin, what they're trying to do there. I wasn't the one that discussed the propane leaks and the propane tanks and the fertilizer blowing up and stuff. More of my concerns are, I wanted to address, and Leanne addressed some of them today, was that if they did put in the future store, you know, and I'm not necessarily that I'm opposed to that, but I just think that I was glad to hear that CDOT would want to have to relook at that permit, because it would definitely take and change the number of people in and out and stuff. And to be honest, I'd rather have a fertilizer plant than 2 propane tanks and 21 Malamutes next door to me and stuff. So some of my concerns, and I think we got them all addressed between Lynn and Bentley and I at the Planning Commission, and then afterwards and stuff, is over the years I've taken care of the prairie dogs. I've tried to keep them shot off, and Basin has given me gas at different times to take and put down the holes and poison get prairie dogs and stuff, because to the north and especially to the east is where my hay fields and stuff are. And so I just wanted to address that to see about still either them being able to take care of them or me being able to still help take care of them, because prairie dogs don't mind trespassing, and pretty soon neighbors' prairie dogs are your prairie dogs, and then they multiply tenfold. So, but we talked about that, and then the other thing is, at one time them and I had talked about building fencing, and they was going to provide part of the fencing, and I was going to do part of the labor, and we never have got around to doing it, because the fence around that place, and not just on my side and not just on mine on the north, but mine on to the east, and then was probably built in the 30s or 40s in reality. It's barbed wire and woven wire, and then some of the ones on the south don't even. The one lot doesn't even have any fencing, and that was one of my concerns, and I think we addressed them that they would take care of the fencing and stuff, you know. And all I'm really looking at is, you know, I'd like to see it come back with barbed wire and woven wire. We do run cows. We lease it out to Steve Wallace in the wintertime. He runs cows on it. And then we do have some other small animals. So that barbed wire, woven wires, you know. And also I noticed in the threshold standards for industrial property, it does say, you know, that you have to have they have to put up adequate fencing to deal with livestock and stuff. And it's not that I'm looking for them to have just done it. If they was leaving them basically what it was and it wasn't continuing to grow, I would have still been good with, you know, down the road, me doing the labor, they putting up the materials or something. But it does take and affect our property every time, you know, and I don't intend on selling my property. I'm 5th generation there. But it does take and have 2 propane tanks there, and then you have a fertilizer. It does take and affect things and stuff, and so I think it's only right for them to go ahead and try to take and get the fence put in and get it brought up to a reasonable standard. But other than that, Lynn and I and Basin, we've worked good as neighbors for, I don't know, I bought that after my grandaunt passed away in 03, and I think they bought theirs in about 05 or 06 is when they bought it. And we've been good neighbors ever since, and look forward to continuing to work with them that way. And I'm sure with the lighting and stuff, it's, you know, we don't have any problems with what they've done at the fertilizer plant as far as trips in at night and stuff. You know, it's like I told them, I understand if you have a load of fertilizer come in or they're having to deliver some out early or late, you know, there's times I'm out in hayfield cutting hay or baling hay late at night too. And so I think that just goes with the territory. But other than that, you know, I think we've got everything taken care of, and I have no problems with putting in the fertilizer plant there.
You're not going to make them build buffalo fence?
No, but if they take and do, you know, my buffalo fences are just about 5 foot high, you know, which is, you know, a pretty good fence. If you take and put 39-inch woven wire on it and 2 strands of barbed wire, you got a pretty good fence there, you know, and that kind of keeps everything because of deer, we get a lot of deer through there too, and so if you don't build a decent fence, it tears it down. And so, but, you know, that's all I'm asking for is something reasonable around that to take care of that part of it. And then we talked about, you know, putting a couple gates in it where, you know, possibly I could still get in to take care of prairie dogs, or if you had something get in there, we talked about, you know, it's always good to have a gate and stuff. But, you know, over the years, they've stored a lot of stuff there, and there's places that the fence is down between us. And, you know, I drove through there at the pickup or the Ranger and stuff for 10 years, going through and shooting prairie dogs and stuff. And I think even where they're locating the fertilizer building, I shoot a lot of them out there pretty well with a shotgun. There's just too many houses around it because you got houses all to the south and and you got the highway to the west. And so, you know, I don't see any problems with it, so.
Thank you, Danny. Is there anybody else? If not, we'll close the public hearing, or public comment, excuse me. Anybody have anything further you want to say?
Well, to say the other comment on the fencing, and this you know, this came up after the last, we talked about that, but if this project comes in, as I hope, under budget, I told the board, I don't know, a week or two ago, when we had a board meeting, that probably in the spring or sometime next year, we're gonna put a 6-foot, either chain link or high tensile type fence around the whole property. I mean, we need to do that. We meet all the insurance and codes and stuff with the locks and stuff we have, but I think for our own future use, we are going to, you know, put a fence around the whole thing. I don't have that actually bid yet, but that's kind of a spring project. I kind of want to get the building up and get it going before I get too many things in process. But it is definitely in our plan to put a good fence all the way around it, as any commercial property should have.
Okay. Bentley, you got anything on that?
Good, unless you guys have any questions.
Okay, bring it back to the commissioner.
Nothing more from me. And I would move that the amendment to the high-impact permit number 101 submitted by Basin Co-op, agents Forsberg and Colbert, for the expansion into a fertilizer storage and mixing facility and future general storage on property located at 11722 Highway 491 Cortez be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that high-impact permit, or amendment to high-impact permit number 101, submitted by Basin Co-op Incorporated, agents Forsberg and Colbert, for the purpose of expanding the existing use to include a fertilizer storage and mixing facility and future general storage, possibly store, on property located at 11722 Highway 491, Cortez, Colorado, be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We thank you. We'll close this hearing.
Thank you, gentlemen.